In October 2014, Apple was 3 months from launching the iPhone 6 and it ran out of glass. Its Sapphire supplier, GTAT Advanced Technologies, had just filed for bankruptcy with $578 million Apple dollars locked inside. Apple shipped the iPhone 6 with regular Ion-X glass instead. Sapphire never made it to the screen. That's how thin the line is. I'm Big Z. In this episode, we'll answer 3 questions. First, why does Apple keep wiring billions of dollars to a 170-year-old glass company in Kentucky? Second, what happens to the iPhone if Corning's furnace breaks tomorrow? And third, when Apple's foldable phone finally launches, who's actually going to make the glass that bends? October 6, 2014. GTAT Advanced Technologies files for Chapter 11 in New Hampshire. The story is simple, and it is terrifying. Apple had prepaid $578 million for Sapphire Crystal, a deposit on a deal to put Sapphire glass on the iPhone 6. GT was supposed to grow that crystal in 1,500 furnaces in Mesa, Arizona, inside a building Apple owned. GT couldn't make the yields work. The cash burned. The company collapsed. When the dust settled, Apple was still owed $439 million. GT auctioned off its furnaces over 4 years to pay it back. Sapphire, on the iPhone, was dead before launch. Apple learned its lesson, but the lesson wasn't stop investing in glass. It was the opposite. Apple sells, conservatively, more than 1 billion glass surfaces a year. 230 million iPhones. Each one has a front cover, a back cover, a camera lens stack, a display substrate underneath the OLED. That alone is close to 1 billion pieces. Add the 50 million Apple Watches with sapphire crystals. The 50 million iPads with cover glass. The 25 million MacBooks with display lids. The Vision Pro headset, which doubled the optical glass content per device even if Apple only shipped about 90,000 units last year, down from nearly 500,000 the year before. Every single one of those surfaces has to be optically perfect. Strong enough not to shatter on first drop. Thin enough that you forget it's there. You cannot make this glass at this scale in your garage. 3 companies in the world can actually do it at iPhone scale. Corning, in the United States, ticker GLW, 174 years old, market cap around $144 billion. Its stock is up 306% in the last 12 months. It just hit an all-time high of $175.89 on April 24, last week. AGC Inc., formerly Asahi Glass, in Japan, $13.5 billion in revenue last year, the second largest display substrate maker. Operating margin, about 6%. Solid, not spectacular. And Schott, in Germany, privately held by the Carl Zeiss Foundation. $3 billion in revenue, the only one of the 3 you can't actually buy on a stock exchange. Schott does the most aggressive ultra-thin glass research of any of them. Together these 3 control about 85% of the high-generation display substrate market. Corning alone controls roughly 45%. Apple does business with all 3. But it has bet, structurally, on one. Here's why this matters. The fusion draw process, the way Corning makes its glass, is older than the iPhone, older than personal computers, older than transistors. But running it at modern scale, on substrates 10.5 generations large, means draining molten glass at 1000 degrees Celsius down a precision machine trough that can't deviate by more than a few microns. You don't build that overnight. Corning has been refining the process for 60 years. AGC has been at it for 50. When Apple needs a new glass formulation, Ceramic Shield in 2020, then Ceramic Shield 2 in 2025, claim 3 times more scratch resistant, only one of these 3 companies can co-develop it. In my view, this is the actual moat. Not the brand. Not the patent. The furnace itself. So Apple is buying the moat. In 2017, Apple put $200 million into Corning's Harrodsburg, Kentucky plant from its Advanced Manufacturing Fund. In 2019, another $250 million. By 2021, the cumulative number was around $500 million. Then, in August 2025, Apple did something unprecedented. It committed $2.5 billion more and dedicated the entire Harrodsburg facility to one customer. Itself. 100% of the cover glass for every iPhone and every Apple Watch sold worldwide is now made in Kentucky. Corning is hiring 50% more workers there. Apple has called it the largest smartphone glass production line on Earth. $3 billion of investment over 8 years. That's not a customer relationship. That's a hostage situation, and both sides took the money. But Apple's glass chain is bigger than Corning. There are 10 companies you need on your radar. Corning makes the cover glass. AGC and Nippon Electric Glass make the OLED display substrate underneath. Hoya, the hidden gem of the group, 29% operating margins, supplies optical glass blanks and EUV mask blanks. Schott runs ultra-thin glass research in Germany. Then the processors, lens technology in China, 67% of revenue from Apple as recently as 2023, still 49% today. Beal Crystal, also Chinese, exclusive supplier on the iPhone 17e. GIS in Taiwan, which Ming-Chi Kuo named in September 2025 as the exclusive back-end processor for Apple's foldable iPhone glass. And on Apple Watch, Hansol Technics in Korea, Monocrystal in Russia. Sapphire Crystal, 3 suppliers, deliberately. The chain has redundancy. Cover glass does not. Now we get to the trillion-dollar question. The foldable iPhone. Late 2026, early 2027, that's the launch window everyone's pointing to. Apple is rumored to still be testing in late 2025, trying to eliminate the visible crease that Samsung's Galaxy Fold has lived with since 2019. The technology is called UTG ultra-thin glass. 30 microns thick, give or take. Bend it 10,000 times. It cannot crack. It cannot whiten. Here's the supply chain. Corning makes the raw UTG. Lens technology in China processes about 70% of it for Apple. GIS in Taiwan does the exclusive back-end lamination. 2 private Korean firms, Daewoo Inzis and UTI, are the backups. If any one of these breaks down, Apple's foldable slips a year. The foldable phone market is projected to grow 30% in 2026 specifically because Apple is supposed to enter. This is the most fragile launch in Apple's history. The Vision Pro changed Apple's glass demand profile, briefly. Each headset uses roughly 3 to 4 times the optical glass of an iPhone, micro-OLED substrates from Sony, pancake lens elements from GIS, prescription inserts from Carl Zeiss. But the volume collapsed. 500,000 units in 2024. 80 to 90,000 in all of 2025. 45,000 in the fourth quarter alone, according to IDC. Luxshare, the assembler, halted the production line. Apple cut Vision Pro digital advertising by more than 95%. The optical glass ramp everyone was modeling gone. This is why a Vision Pro only glass thesis doesn't work. The volume isn't there. Then there's China. Lens Technology had 2024 revenue of $9.7 billion, bigger than Hoya, AGC's electronic glass division, or Schott. It just listed in Hong Kong in July 2025. But look at the margins. Lens runs at 14.6% gross margin. Corning's display segment runs at 27% net. Same end product. 2 to 3 times the profit at the substrate stage versus the finishing stage. Lens isn't catching up to the science. It's building scale at the assembly layer, cutting, polishing, tempering glass that someone else made. And here's the leverage. In 2023, Apple was 58% of Lens Technology's revenue. By 2024, that dropped to 49%. Each year, Apple is squeezing, and Lens has nowhere else to go that pays this much. When Apple shifted 100% of premium cover glass production to Kentucky in August 2025, Lens lost the most strategic part of its Apple business. The HK IPO was an exit, not an entry. Beal Crystal in Hong Kong is in the same trap, just smaller. So where does this go in the next 12 to 24 months? My read on this is straightforward. 3 signals to watch. First, the foldable launch date. Watch for Apple's October 2026 event. If it slips to 2027, Lens Technology and GIS take the demand hit, and Corning's UTG ramp delays. If it lands on time, every UTG processor in this chain gets a multi-year volume tailwind. Second, Corning's display technologies segment net margin. It just hit 27% in 2025. If that holds above 25% through 2026, it confirms the structural pricing power story. If it slips below 20%, Apple has found leverage. Third, Apple's next AMF announcement. In my view, the next billion-dollar commitment from the Apple Advanced Manufacturing Fund will probably go to a Sapphire grower or a UTG specialist, not back to Corning. Watch Hansol, watch Monocrystal, watch Schott. Catalysts on the upside: Ceramic Shield 3 announcement, foldable iPhone launch, China export controls hitting lens. On the downside, an Apple Samsung display rapprochement that brings Corning Lotus glass volume back to Korea instead of Kentucky. Upstream: quartz mining, lithium aluminosilicate raw materials. Downstream: every Apple device assembler. They all sit downstream of this one chain. If you build supply chains for a living, this is a chain you should already know cold. I'm Big Z, follow me, see you in the next deep dive.